kicking the field goal. It'll be Jason Gingell out of the hold of Mesco. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning. At a high school lacrosse game last night.
Did we get the win?
First loss of the year.
Well, got to shake the rust off. Spring break
Okay,
was last week.
young team.
Yeah.
Going to be a powerhouse, but a young team. I'm getting a little delay, by the way, in this headset.
You are? Okay, I'll fix that.
Paul, Reed Mouse, how we looking, boys?
Hey, we're looking great, Tom. We're coming off the bench.
We are.
Moving seats around, but hey, we're here. We're a champion bunch here at Chatterbox Sports.
Casey needed a day off today. Been
Yep.
working hard. All you guys been working hard doing all the Miami stuff, right? And all the
Yep.
baseball and the softball.
How's that delay now?
Still there.
Still there.
I mean, I'm hearing myself. It's like my wife's worst nightmare.
Oh,
she hears me once,
no.
and then she has to hear me twice.
No,
Oh,
Tom.
no.
Oh, gosh.
All right. Well, I'll fix that.
She doesn't even like me anymore. So for her to have to listen to me twice would be very, very bad.
Is everything okay at home, Tom?
Well, you know, when you get beat last night and, I got to contain myself here. You get beat, you move on.
What's got you down,
Dirty
Tom?
play makes me crazy. The other team's more physical than you are. That's fine. No problem. I understand it. I've had physical teams in basketball and not physical teams. But dirty play is just unacceptable. You can follow us here on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. I'm going to take this off for the time being. We stream daily as well on Facebook via the Chatterbox Sports page, and you can find us in podcast form. Just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman, and you're dialed in. At the Masters, did you see this yesterday? What happened yesterday?
I did not.
Okay.
Fill me
Tom Hogue had one of 5. Think about this for a second. You guys are big gambling guys, okay? He had one of 5 holes in one, including 2 by one guy. Ireland's Seamus Power en route to winning the par 3 contest at Augusta National yesterday. The 5 holes in one, needless to say, is a record. This is one of the most beloved traditions at the Masters. They do it every year. The players have a lot of fun. You can get your families to caddy, do whatever you want to do. But it's a par 3 tournament. And they had 5 holes in one. One guy has 2. That has to be billions to 1. Right?
Astronomical. Tom, I got to ask you, you haven't golfed in a while. You ever had an ace?
I have.
You have?
Yes.
Is that when you hung him up, you said, I ain't topping this?
I was down in Florida. You remember? Well, you're not old enough to remember. The Cubs used to have a catcher named Rick Wilkins.
Okay.
He shows up on the scene his first year in the big leagues. He had 30 home runs. I mean, he was all the rage of Chicago. Great dude. From down in Jacksonville, Florida, went to the same high school. I think it's Bowles High School Academy in Jacksonville. Anyway, he had a charity golf tournament. He had a sister with special needs. And he had a charity golf tournament every year down there, and they would play it at the PGA. You know, the TPC.
Yeah.
You know, where they have the big tournament and everything. So I had a buddy from college who lived down there. He owned a bunch of car washes down there. And so I was the MC of this tournament, the big event that they would have at the end of it every year. And Rick had me do it like 5 years in a row. Got to know his mom and dad and his sister really well. Anyway, I'm down there, and it's the day before. And And so my buddy and I just go out and play at another local golf course down there in Jacksonville. And if there was ever video of it, it was the ugliest hole-in-one you could possibly have. Shank it off to the left, hits off a hill, and then comes rolling down. And because of another little hill, a green or a bunker, you can't see the ball. So I saw it hit the side of the. I mean, it's a laser, should have been high. Laser hits off the side of the hill, starts trickling down. We jump in a cart, drive up there. Ace!
So you didn't even get to celebrate in the tee box.
No. And I quit shortly thereafter.
Thom,
Bubba,
throw your headset back on here. Let's do this on the fly.
Let's do it, baby.
Let's see if we got
all
this
right,
rolling.
let's see. We got it.
You got it?
You're dialed in, Paulie.
Well,
You are dialed in.
credit Casey. We got it done. We got it done. All right.
Casey working on his off day.
Casey
You were
working on his
back
off
in this
day.
saddle when everybody else was invited to go to Kansas, right?
Yeah, you and I weren't.
You and I were the two Lone Rangers. We were right here.
Credit Kate. Go back to bed, Casey. Go back to sleep. We got it covered.
That's exactly right.
All right.
Head on back to bed. By the way, I got to check this because this could be our
Uh-oh.
Yep. I told you.
Oh.
I told you. We reached out to somebody about coming on the show, and I'm going to leave the name out. Reached out to somebody. And based on what I did a couple of years ago, almost 3 years ago now, what I said, this is what you get. When you text somebody and you say, hey, is there any chance you could come on our show? I want to talk about fill in the blank. 90% of them, no problem. Dan Plezak yesterday, whoever else we've had on the show, Sean Casey, right on down the line, right? But when they write back, we need to check with the PR department if I can come on your show. As I said to you when we got that text the other day, the second you get one of those, just forget it. We're not getting them on the show. No chance. No chance.
All right.
That's fine. Probably better off without that person. Matter of fact, I know we are. Bubba Watson yesterday had an ace. He finished one back in that par 3 tournament. Watson is one of 17 players from the LIV Tour that will play in the Masters beginning tomorrow. Tiger Woods will play the first 2 rounds of his 25th anniversary at the Masters starting today. He'll play with Victor Hovland and Xander Schauffele. That's a good threesome. The 5-time Masters champ tees off at 10:18, so he's getting ready to go off in about 5 minutes. 1:24 on Friday. And, Paul, you will be there.
I will.
Are you going to follow around anybody in particular, or are you just going to just Tiger all day?
I don't know the plan yet. I seriously, I have no idea. I haven't really talked to anybody about it because, again, he was down there at the Masters yesterday, so he didn't have his phone. I haven't talked to anybody, but this is the reason I almost didn't say anything on the show yesterday. I thought yesterday it got canceled. I got off the show, and I got a phone call that the plane tomorrow got canceled. So we had to move the flight to this afternoon, and then I didn't think I was going to be able to make it this afternoon. Got a bunch of things moved around. It worked out, but I have no idea. It's supposed to pour down rain tomorrow around 1:30 or 2 o'clock. It's supposed to thunder and lightning. Tiger tees off at 1:18. So I don't know. I have no idea what's happening. I am totally along for the ride here. I have had about one detail, and that is that your flight got changed, and that's it. So I have no idea what I'm getting myself into.
Hey, similar to like we do it on the show. We'll do it on the fly, baby.
We're doing it on the fly.
Maybe you'll have an echo in your head as you get on the plane and go through the rest
I'll have
of
a
the
story
day.
to tell on Monday.
That's exactly right. You know, it was interesting. Rory McIlroy, who's a good friend of Tiger Woods, right, and has been extremely outspoken about all the players on LIV and moving over to LIV and leaving the PGA Tour. But anyway, him and Tiger played a practice round a couple of days ago. And you may remember, Woods got into that terrible accident, and he was in danger of losing his leg. It was so torn up in this automobile accident. So he has a hard time walking. In fact, it's hard to watch him try and walk, to be quite honest with you, even if you're not a Tiger fan. But McIlroy said after playing in that practice round with him that Woods is making all the shots that he used to make, every single one of them. And he believes that if Tiger can handle the walking, and apparently, as Paul Daugherty pointed out the other day, said television does a nice job of presenting what that course looks like. But one thing it fails to do, is unable to do, is to show how hard it is physically to walk that course. A lot of up and down. And McElroy made the comment that if Woods can handle that part, he thinks Woods has a chance to win the tournament. In baseball, Reds and your Cubbies rained out yesterday.
Yeah, I went down there. Me and Trace both were down there. I think he went in the stadium. I was just floating around Cincinnati, biding time, and eventually got canned. Disappointing. Now, because the way they shifted the schedule, the Cubs don't come back to town till Labor Day, September.
Yeah, it's a weird schedule this year.
Yeah.
Because now you're playing every team in baseball, at least one series, and you're playing every team in your division 2 series at home, 2 series on the road. Yep. That's it. So they don't come back, as you mentioned, till nearly the fall. Anyway, Reds were rained out yesterday. Not only that, their game today in Philadelphia has already been canceled. They're getting all that rain that we had yesterday. And I don't know about you guys. I was looking for the animals lining up 2 by 2 yesterday.
Yeah, it was a lot. There's a road that I take to get here, and it goes down through a little valley, and it is right in the middle of one side of a lake, another side of a lake, and that road floods a lot. I was driving down the little hill this morning, and I'm telling you, the water was right at the top. You never see it up that high, and it was right at the top, and I'm thinking, where is that arc, baby?
Where is it? Well, thankfully, that rain has stopped, and understand we're going to have about a week straight, if those guys are right, of incredible weather. But anyway, the game today in Philadelphia has already been called off. That game is the defending National League champions' home opener. So now that will be played tomorrow. They built in that scheduled off day in case they had bad weather. The Phillies have won 1 game through their first 2 series this season. They lost to the Yankees and Garrett Cole yesterday 4-2. The National League Central Division leading Brewers finished off the Mets in a 3-game sweep. A walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th yesterday, 7-6. Brewers 5-1 to start the year. Now help me if you guys know how to pronounce this young man's name.
I do not. I know he's a Bearcat.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Weimer or Weimer, so forgive me. I'm sorry. If somebody knows in the chat.
I think it's Weimer. I called one of his games when he played for Cincinnati. I think it's Weimer.
Okay. Well, Joey Weimer is his name. He's from Sylvania, Ohio. He was a 4th-round draft pick out of the University of Cincinnati. He hit his first major league home run yesterday. Now, Weimer tore it up in the minor leagues. Mentioned he played at UC. He's only been in the minor leagues for 2 years, and now he's in the Brewers starting lineup. Now, this is a question that I have had for a long time. And I used to talk about this with guys at the Reds. I've never understood how it is that the Reds miss on so many local talented players through the years when it comes to the draft. I've never understood it. Kevin Youkilis, right? This kid,
Ian
Happ, who's just killed him.
Right.
Maybe more than any other player in baseball over the last 4 or 5 years, right?
Right.
Brandon Webb, who some of you may or may not remember, just down the road in Kentucky, won a Cy Young Award with the Diamondbacks, and then he got hurt. This guy had a chance to be a Hall of Fame pitcher, and he was the best pitcher in the National League for about a 4-year run before his shoulder got hurt. I just don't understand it. I mean, if you're going to wait around and draft a guy in the 4th or 5th round, and Weimer was a 4th-round draft pick, you're going to take some. I would rather have the kid, if all things are equal. Wouldn't you rather have the kid who the chances are he grew up rooting for the Reds and it's his lifelong dream? No team has done that better through the years than the Atlanta Braves. They specifically zero in about a 90-mile radius in and around Atlanta. And if it comes down to picking one of those guys as opposed to some kid from Fresno, California, they're going to take that guy. I just don't understand it. I don't know how you miss on guys that are right there in your backyard, and chances are they want to play for your team. College basketball, Paul, the Xavier front. Rice transfer, I believe his name is pronounced Oliveri, Quincy Oliveri from Western Kentucky. and Davion McKnight, a transfer from Western Kentucky. Oliverius from Rice. Both have visits with Musketeers head coach Sean Miller. They're both coming off outstanding years at their former schools. So Sean Miller was really zeroed in on some dude from Arizona that he had recruited there, right?
Yes, Kirk Risa. He was a guard that played for Arizona this year, kind of a lightning rod, turned the ball over a lot, but at the same time he was really talented, didn't defend all that well, but which is kind of interesting because he's going to West Virginia, and we all know Bob Huggins values the defensive side of the floor a lot more than the offensive side of the floor. So kind of interesting that Kerr's going to that system, but he is. And I thought he was going to come to Xavier because Sean recruited him to Arizona. It seemed like a done deal, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. Now he's at West Virginia, but it is what it is. I don't know a ton about these guys, but I do know that McKnight, the kid from Western Kentucky, he's a gamer, as you say, Tom. He is a gamer.
Love gamers.
And so he excites me, possibility to get him. But as you were about to note here, some other big news on the schedule front, too, for Xavier.
It is, and it's pretty exciting. It's not confirmed officially yet. At least not from what I've seen.
It's
a done deal?
Yeah, it's a done deal.
Okay, well, it appears X will host the Houston Cougars next season in that Big East Big 12 Challenge. Houston, as you know, a lot of the year, number one ranked team in the country, number one seed in the tournament before getting knocked off by, I believe it was Miami, right? Miami beat them?
Yes.
Yes.
Xavier's 4-0 in the event, but 0-2 all-time versus the Cougars. Now, let me ask you this, because you follow this. You're probably still staying up till 2 in the morning reading about it. How many guys Houston going to bring back from that team? Or lose from that team, maybe a better question.
Well, that's the discussion right now. They just brought back one of their best players yesterday. There's still a couple of guys that need to make some decisions on what's going to happen with their future. So I think we'll have a better idea in the next week or so. But kind of the overall point that you're trying to get at here, I think that this is a team that's it's going to be like Houston's not going to lose a lot to the point where they're going to look a ton different and it's going to be a shell of themselves. Kelvin Sampson's going to reload no matter who is on the team next year. It's going to be a very, very good team that rolls into Cintas. So that's fun. Xavier's they've played some away games in this Big 12 Challenge. They've hosted Baylor. They've hosted I'm trying to think who else they've hosted in this. I have to go back and look.
West Virginia last year.
West Virginia last year. Yeah, that's right. This is a great event. I'm hoping that they continue it because their Gavitt game with the Big Ten, that's about to end here soon. So we'll see.
Well, I think they announced recently that they extended 2 more years at Big East Big 12 Challenge, right?
I think so.
I think I read that. Speaking of transfers, this news just broke a few moments ago. Moeller grad and UC Bearcat Jeremiah Davenport is leaving the Bearcats.
Yeah, we had a little party out there. Sean Spurlock, big Bearcats fan. Wasn't a big fan of Jeremiah Davenport. When he heard the news, he gave a couple fist pounds, little fist pumps.
I always say, Casey, okay, you want to celebrate a guy leaving? Okay, it's your option as a fan. But the question is, who replaces him? The guy did average almost 10 points a game and did some things. He's 6-man, came off the bench. Who's replacing him?
Time will tell.
Some of these young players may be coming up. They're waiting still right on Nolly.
Yeah.
If he's going to come back.
Rayvon Griffith.
Jizzle James.
Rolling into town. Get a little sizzle from Jizzle. We are hoping to continue today. We certainly will tomorrow with a look at the Saints and the Panthers. We are waiting to find out if we're going to be talking about the Tennessee Titans at some point in time today. The biggest story in sports by far today is the Masters. And so we have Steve Flesch coming up in a little while. For those of you who are not old enough, I would make the argument, and maybe somebody in the chat would care to, chime in on this. I would make the argument that he's the greatest professional golfer to ever come out of this area. born in Cincinnati, but he grew up in Northern Kentucky. Covcath guy, University of Kentucky, goes on the Corn Ferry Tour, wins a couple times. Off he goes to the PGA, wins 4 times there, finished in the top 7 in the Masters, the U.S. Open, and the PGA Championship. Top 20 finish at the British Open. And now he's playing on the Senior Tour. But he is going to join us to talk a lot about this stuff that's going on with the LIV Tour, PGA Tour, LIV players coming in and playing, the challenge of playing at the Masters. Flesch was right there to win the Masters. I believe it was 07, 08. Was in the lead, and it happens. Drops the ball in the drink, and that was it. Wound up finishing 5th. I think he dropped one in there on 14 or 15, something like that. Final day. Right there for the win. So we'll talk to him, left-handed player, and we'll visit with him to talk about the Masters. Some of you getting into some of the other stories in sports today. We're not getting into the Bud Light thing. No.
Chat's popping today. Masters coverage. Masters going on right now.
We're going to have to keep an eye on that as they're off and running.
Yep.
So neither one of you guys have any cash on this. I wanted to get Trace to come in here because he's got a lot of action on the Masters.
I have a fantasy, like one of those I have a fantasy lineup. I don't know. I don't know what you.
A local guy.
I don't know what you
set something up for you.
I don't know what you. I don't know what you call these things. Like I don't really ever do these. I don't even know what you really call it. One of these fantasy things. I've Scotty Scheffler, Corey Connors, Brooks Koepka, Justin Thomas, Joaquin Niemann, and some dude named Kim. Tom.
Jeff Kim.
Jeff Kim, Chatterbox legend. Yeah. So I'm doing a six player little entry here for this.
Really?
We'll see how it rolls. $10 to win whatever. Go ahead.
Tom, are you a watch all week Masters kind of guy?
No.
Are you settle in on Sunday and watch it, or because
my son will watch it 24/7. So just to hang out with him a little bit, later this afternoon, after leaving here, watch a few. Got to run a few errands. He gets out of school about 3:30 and he'll be dialed in until practice tonight. So I'll watch a little bit with him. Certainly over the weekend, if there are some guys that I'm interested in. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. And Paul Doherty, we've talked about this with him on the show, is that, you've got certain guys out there that clearly are the best player. Scotty Scheffler is the best player in the world right now. Now all of a sudden you got guys like, Brooks Koepka, who's healthy again. He's playing very well over on the LIV Tour. Bubba Watson is always certainly a guy to watch at the Masters. He's already won it once. Will probably be in the hunt again. He's already off today, won over early on. And the Tigers and that kind of thing. If some of those guys are in the hunt, I'm all in. If it's a bunch of young guys that I've really never heard of, which we see a lot in golf today, right? Now, what about you? You going to sit around and watch it?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not much of a golf guy.
You're not going to watch it at all?
I'll
Masters.
I'll tune in on Sunday. That's all I got. Tom, we got baseball. Not today. Not much baseball today.
God.
But why would I watch the Masters when I could watch like the Blue Jays play the Orioles?
Oh, you're not serious.
No.
You would. Okay, all right. As long as you're honest.
That sounds like me turning on a West Coast basketball game at like 7 o'clock
Yes, it does.
on a Sunday night when there's Sunday night football going on.
I want to check something here because I think today if you're going to go to the Masters, and Paul, you are tomorrow.
Yeah.
The one thing that if I was going to get there, that I would really be interested in watching, and I'm showing my age here, but these guys are starting to get older and older. The first tee time of the Masters today, which went off 7:40 this morning. Boy, now, if there is a group that you were there on a Thursday that you would want to walk around with all day long, how about the trio, the honorary starters they call them? How about the trio of Gary Player, Tom Watson, and Jack Nicklaus?
a good trio.
You imagine following that group around.
Be a lot of fun.
Those guys are all getting up, got to be in their 80s now. Watson not, but certainly Player and Nicholas. And to be able to walk around and follow those guys. You know, Jack Nicholas is a Buckeye. I mean, a lot of you guys badmouth cities outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. Paul, you and Casey, all you do is kill Cleveland and, all these places.
Well, Cleveland, I mean, yeah.
Jack Nicholas is a Buckeye through and through. Born and raised in Upper Arlington, Ohio, right outside the campus of The Ohio State University. That's where he went to college.
Right.
You badmouth the Buckeye. You badmouth the Buckeyes all the time.
Well, yeah, I don't care about Columbus Central Tech, whatever that school is up there that you root for in the fall. But
Agreed.
It's funny, a couple days ago, me and Paul are doing a broadcast together, and a kid comes up to the plate. He's from Upper Arlington, and I asked Paul, I was like, Paul, do you know Upper Arlington's mascot? And he goes, no, Reed, but I guarantee you're going to tell me. And I said, it's the Golden Bears. That's where Jack Nicholas went, and dropped a little golf knowledge on him.
But see, what a lot of people don't know, I'm glad you brought that up because I was getting ready to bring it up. What a lot of people don't know is that they had the nickname the Golden Bears long before Jack Nicholas got there. A lot of people think that because of Jack Nicholas that Upper Arlington changed their their school nickname to the Golden Bears. Not true.
He got the nickname Golden Bears because he went to Upper Arlington.
And he had the blonde hair and, big burly guy. Back in those days, he was a real big, strong guy. But that would be the group to watch. Paul, I can't believe you didn't know the Upper Arlington Golden Bears.
No.
Well, not from around here.
Yeah,
Powerhouse athletic school.
In lacrosse, I bet.
They're really good. Although, surprisingly,
my cousin played lacrosse.
St. X destroyed them the other day. But that's a big-time athletic. It's big-time school, period. I mean, it's right there, the first. I mean, you drive from literally Ohio Stadium. You drive about 3 miles, and there's Upper Arlington High School. Big league neighborhood. Scioto Country Club. They played the U.S. Senior Open there 2 years ago. And that's kind of Jack. And then he branched off a little bit, made Muirfield, Dublin, Ohio, his quote-unquote home course there. That's where they play the Memorial every year. And, I mean, that would be fun to watch that group.
Oh, so here's my pitch on the Memorial this year.
Okay.
So I thought about this the other day because I've wanted to go to the Memorial for a while. Haven't been able to make it. So I'm looking at it this year. Friday night, we all go down to Great American Ballpark. There's a Zach Brown concert after the game, 5 o'clock. Casey won't be there because he's getting married on Saturday night. And then Sunday, we all head on up to Columbus, and we go to the Memorial. I say that's a nice little 72-hour stretch for the boys.
Paul. It's not too bad.
No. That's what I'm saying.
Thom, you remember that show in the 90s?
I don't know what kind of condition you're going to be in after Casey's wedding.
What kind of condition are you going to be in, Thom?
Probably not good.
Thom, have you ever seen that 90s show with Tim Allen, Home Improvement? You remember it?
Been a while.
Yeah.
But I do remember, and I like him very much.
Yeah, you know the neighbor that just, like, you never see his chin. He's talking to Tim Allen all the time. You never see his chin. That's Paul. He's in a new seat right now, and he keeps hiding behind the computer on the screen. So we just got Wilson from Home Improvement right next to it.
It's true. I know. I can't move anything around. Casey's got a little stationary desk here. I can't do anything here.
You know, speaking of, I was thinking yesterday, and I meant to bring it up at the time when we had Dan Plesac on, and we certainly thank him for his time yesterday. He was a great interview. He had made the comment that his mom is a hairdresser. I don't know if you caught that part when he was talking about his dad and his mom growing up in Crown Point, Indiana. And every time somebody makes reference to a hairdresser, I can't think of anything else than you allowing some relative of yours, or soon-to-be relative of yours, right, to cut your hair, right?
Yeah.
Your girlfriend,
Yeah.
right? Her what? Cousin.
Just got a haircut last night.
I know. I was getting ready to make the comment. Same person cut it again?
Yeah.
Is your girlfriend, is she instructing anything on how to cut the hair? Is she even there when you do it?
She was there. Yeah.
What does she say? Because Reed's got a big league haircut. I mean,
My wife's a
he's
hairstylist.
Looking, I know. He's looking good.
You don't like it?
Well, it's not a matter of not liking it. We'll have to ask Tracy Jones.
I'm getting the vibe, Tom. I'm getting the vibe.
No. It has nothing to do with that because,
Well, then what does it got to do with?
It makes me think about what that looks like. So is she sitting there while you're sitting in a chair in the kitchen or the bathroom or what?
Yeah, no. I mean, the salon is right next to her school.
Oh, so it's a salon.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right next to her school, so she just comes right across the street.
You want to give it any pub while we're on the show here?
It's actually,
do you even know the name of the place?
Well,
you just go there because it's free. Is it free?
No, it's not free. The funny thing is it's actually got the same name as Reed's wife's salon, so when I go down there, they were telling me that a lot of times they get like Reed's wife's clients and then vice versa will come up here and down there because they're not related, but it's the same spot. Revive
Salon. They actually sponsor some of our high school stuff, so the one here in Hamilton at least.
Yeah.
So we have a little pub. Ask for Mariana if you ever need your haircut in Hamilton.
You know what? I might.
Yeah.
Because I fight that constant battle. Maybe some of you are in the same boat, getting up there in age, where, it might look like here on camera that it's a good full head of hair and all that kind of thing. Well, you can start to see through it now on the top. Right? So every time I go in to get a haircut, because my wife likes it long, I like it buzz cut. So a little give and take, right? Marriage, allegedly, there's not a lot of take. There's a lot of give. So, I always want to go in and just nothing, down to like that. And my wife's like, no, don't do that. So I always ask, and I'd be interested to hear from your wife. I'm sincere about this question. And there are other guys out there that are watching this show that understand this question. When you're starting to thin out, and I always ask whoever cuts it, and I don't have anybody regularly that cuts it, are you better off cutting it down, kind of like to where you are, maybe a little less, right? Yeah. And, it doesn't show off the holes in it the way it does when it starts to get longer. You would think it's longer and it would cover up the holes, but it really doesn't. I'd be interested to hear what your bride thinks about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't take too long to look at my hair to realize it ain't got many years left, Tom. So I think we're going through some similar hair problems. You and I just getting a little thinner. Of course, you've got a couple years on me, so your hair's lasted a little longer. I might have another decade with this stuff. Then it's going to be bald. So I'm holding on for dear life up top.
You got to hang on. Thank you, Sir Boy Wonder. He said that I remind him of Benjamin Franklin. Now, is that a nice thing to say?
What do you think reminds Sir Boy?
He's talking about the stuff going bald and, then having the whole thing.
I thought it was more.
Brian says the one thing I haven't lost is my hair. You were starting to say what?
I was going to say, I thought maybe it was just because you're a man of liberty. You're just.
Well, there's no question about that. And becoming a lone voice in the wilderness. Bud Light. Good day for them. Good day for them. Golly day. Augie Bush is turning over in his grave right now. All right, so I want to get to baseball here for a minute, Reed, because you are a baseball guy. Okay? Yep. How much stock, and, Paul Doherty made the comment yesterday, and I agree, okay, that you don't put a lot of stock in April, and rarely should you put a lot of stock in a player more than a team. But I'm going to talk about the team for now, but just, when guys get brought up, minor league guys in September, and they knock the cover off the ball and all this kind of stuff, and they look great, a lot of people forget. Yeah, you might be facing some contenders who are running their A guys out there, but you're also facing some teams that have brought up guys from the minor leagues, and you're having a lot of success in the big leagues because you're facing a lot of those kinds of guys. So let's just throw out September for a minute. But in April, how much stock are you putting into some of these teams through 2 series? Anything at all?
It's so hard to tell. Basically, all you want to have the building blocks, right? most teams, if they have some young guys that they think might contribute later in the year, they're not coming up till May, June, later on. But you're trying to find the building blocks. And you got to remember, if at the end of the year you lose the division by 2 games, you could lose that right there at the beginning of the season. The Phillies starting out 1-5 or whatever they did. That can hurt, right? At the end of the year, if they're trying to get into the postseason and they look back and be like, man, if we just wouldn't have started slow, we might have made this postseason. But no, you don't read into a whole lot. The one thing about the beginning of the season is you can make opinions very quickly, because this is when fans are most engaged. This is when fans are really locked in. So the start like Vossler is having for the Reds, or the start like Jake Fraley's having, all of a sudden it's June. They could barely be hitting their weight, but you'll still remember, man, they were great for that first week. So you can make a lot of impressions in this first week or two. And if you're trying to make a big league roster as a player, if you're trying to stay consistently on the big league roster, you can be remembered here in the first 2 weeks, at least in the fans' minds.
You know, I'm with you all the way. And one guy that comes to mind now, and already people are talking about it, what the Reds are going to do with Vossler. Right? I mean, all of a sudden you've got a guy, and you can call it lightning in a bottle. You can call it whatever you want to call it. He's 29 years old. He was in the Cubs minor league system for a long time. They never gave him a chance to play in the big leagues. Off he goes. Couple of other teams. Makes his debut in the big leagues with the Giants. He's been signed and cut by a couple of other teams since. Reds bring him in, right? So 2 guys come to mind right now about what would you do. And I'm not claiming that I have the answer, because I don't. I'm not the manager. I'm not the general manager. But let's start with Vossler. You know that Votto's coming back. I would not be surprised to see Votto back, maybe not for the Philadelphia series, but perhaps the Atlanta series, which is after that.
Right.
What are you going to do with Vossler?
That's the question. I know Trace, if you listen to Trace and Nick Kirby's podcast, Chatterbox Reds, then they'll be saying, listen, Vossler's the starting first baseman. Based off what you saw last year from Joey Votto, Vossler is playing better, and you ride the hot hand, right? If he's consistently getting hits and you keep riding him out there, and then maybe you sprinkle in Joey Votto here and there, it's going to be a tough situation for David Bell, and it's going to be very tough. Do you ride the fan favorite? Do you ride the future Hall of Famer, Joey Votto, or do you get the guy who's playing well?
There's no doubt about it. Well, we know how that's going to play out. It's Votto's last year here and a $25 million contract. So we'll get into all of this a little bit later. We mentioned we are very, very pleased today, grateful today, to have Steve Flesch join us. He, as we mentioned, born in Cincinnati, but grew up on the other side of the mighty Ohio, went to Covcath, then the University of Kentucky. Got his PGA Tour card in 1997 after winning on the Korn Ferry Tour. Went on to win 4 times on the PGA Tour. He's had 4 top 20 finishes in major tournaments. We talked about the Masters, finishing 5th in 2008. I've made the claim, and I don't know who could argue with it, that he's the greatest local golfer we have ever had from this area. And who better to talk about the Masters than Steve Flesch? I mean, you see him on TV. You were on the Fox broadcast. You've been on the Golf Channel, now playing on the – they don't call it the Senior Tour anymore, right, Steve?
PGA Tour Champions is the technical term for it, but we all still call it the Old Guys Tour.
How do you like that?
It's a blast. It's so relaxed out there, and it's the guys we've competed against our whole life, but it's just a more relaxed atmosphere. We all get that we're an entertainment tour now, Tom. We play 2 Pro-Ams during the week. We're about selling sponsorships for the tour, semi-growing the game, trying to, keep a lot of the fans still interested in the guys they rooted for growing up, because we realize there's a generation that isn't familiar with all the new faces. But we have a lot of fun out there, but it's still so competitive that I thought it was going to be more relaxed on myself when I'm out there playing, but I still get as worked up and nervous before I play and worrying about my game the night before as I did when I was playing the tour full time. So it still seems like a job to me, but I have more fun during my job.
It's funny you bring that up, because I got into a conversation about this with a guy who's a big golf fan, friend of mine, And I was talking about the current state of the game, and I had even made this comment with Paul and Reed here a little while ago. You know, Steve, when you get to these PGA Tour events now, there are so many incredibly gifted and great players, talented young players. I mean, 18, 19, 20. Your son, you know, right there was one of them. And I think sometimes we want to see the big name guys, but there's a beauty to the underdog and the guy who comes out of nowhere. I would think that the senior tour, Champions Tour, would really be exciting. I mean, group after group after group after group for a lot of guys that are my age and even a little bit younger than me. The popularity must just be, and the camaraderie must be fantastic with the fans for you guys out there.
It is. It's just it's the familiarity with all the names, Tom. You know, it's like you say, group after group of guys you've watched on TV your whole life. And listen, I would not want to start my career over right now with the depth of talent that's coming out of all these colleges and junior ranks. I mean, it is. I watch PGA Tour telecasts now, and I'm just like, I don't know anybody. There's the Jason Day or, Rory, because they're the popular guys and guys that my career on the PGA Tour was ending when they were first starting out. But all these kids under 26, 25 that are coming out of, all these colleges, which now, when I was in school, at University of Kentucky, we had 5 scholarship players. And really, the 5 guys who played week in, week out for us, 2 of them tended to be walk-ons because they were beating out the scholarship guys. I mean, now you have 10 scholarship guys for these schools, and it is a dogfight to see who the top 5 are going to get to play every week. And, you watch some of these tournaments on the Golf Channel, these collegiate events, and it's amazing golf. And these kids now, they've learned a whole different game. You and I grew up playing persimmon clubs. And not to say back in the day it was harder, but I liken it to, we grew up playing the old wooden tennis rackets, and these kids now are playing the Prince tennis rackets with the oversized heads, and they're swinging for the fences, and that's fine. It's a new fun way of playing golf, but it's harder to really discern who the best players in the game are because the margins between the best and the worst aren't near as great. Back in the days of Nicklaus and Trevino and Watson and Faudo and Tiger Woods, when he was playing, the equipment was not as forgiving. And I'm not going to go down this whole equipment, lineage of back in the day it was so much harder. Yeah. But the old equipment made it easier to discern who are the best players in the game because there was an art and a skill to hit in the middle of the face. Now there's so much forgiveness that the mishits aren't as penalized, and that's what you're seeing. These kids, they're great at playing golf. They know how to shoot low scores, but they've been taught how to just go full send, 100% from day one, and that's not how I grew up. And I think a lot of guys on our tour grew up kind of, every day you're feeling a little bit different in your game, and you know what you can and can't try. But the equipment nowadays is affording guys the ability to just let it go. And I think it's a lot of fun to watch. But, they're talking about turning back the equipment, turning back the ball now to not go as far because it's, some of these guys are hitting it too far. You still got to hit it fairly straight, and you still got to make putts. And that's always been the game. And who really cares if guys are shooting lower scores? That's a testament. But they cap it now. Ball can't go any further. The speed of the ball off the face can't come off any faster. So be it. But I hope they get they set a limit now with all this new, these ideas to turn it back, to just kind of put a cap on it and let talent and ability play out more than just the forgiveness of the equipment. But it's fun to watch. And on our tour, the familiarity of the names just makes it even more fun. I mean, you still got Bernard Langer, who's like 98 winning tournaments. It's frustrating. The guy, he's so regimented, and he's got that German kind of organization of everything he does. Fun to watch, but he's 63 and he's still winning golf tournaments out there left and right. So it's a lot of fun. And I'm 55 and I'm playing golf for a living still. So man, I'm having a ball.
Hey, Steve, walk me through, because I've always wondered, and I think a lot of other people wonder when we're not involved on a day-to-day basis with sports. And I'll have a lot of people ask me, hey, what was it like traveling with the major league team? What was your day like? You know what I mean? And, what'd you do? And then what were the flights like? And, NFL stuff, whatever it might be. For a golfer, when you're playing, and you had a young family when you hit the tour, okay? So you got a wife and kids back at home and a whole 9 yards, and you're trying to make your way and trying to become competitive, which you did after being very successful on the Korn Ferry Tour. What is the week like for a golfer? So if you finish playing somewhere on a Sunday, and let's say it's in Texas, one of the places you won down there, and let's say the next stop is in Florida, and so you finish your round on Sunday in Texas, what's the week like to get ready to the next tournament?
Chaos. Only because traveling with little ones, as anyone knows, whether you're going on vacation or you're just going to visit family, putting kids on a plane is not fun. It's not easy, and there's no handlers. It was my wife and I with the two little ones. So you got the stroller. Who's going to carry one? Who can walk? Traveling with a car seat, it's a pain in the ass. But conversely, that's the only way that's the only way you're going to make a living. So you got to take the show on the road. But once you finish on Sunday, usually don't fly out that night because it's too much of a rush to get everybody going. You fly on a Monday, not too early a flight because getting the kids up, that early is difficult and get them organized. But the tour helps. They have a transportation committee that kind of makes sure everybody gets to the airport okay. If you need a bigger car, they'll give you a bigger car for the week. But you're on your own. There's nobody. Now listen, I played a pro-am up in Detroit years ago, and I happened to be staying at the same hotel the White Sox were in town for. And it was a Ritz-Carlton. They put us up at a nice place. It's not like that every week. But I see all the White Sox bags laid out in the lobby, and the team managers taking the bags up to the rooms. I'm like, look at these spoiled son of a bucks. I'm like, they don't touch a bag. They probably don't pack their own bags. And I'm thinking, wouldn't that be nice? But we're dragging the bags. I'm dragging my clubs out to the rental car place, getting the cars, and traveling with a family's tough. It's no different than anybody else, but that's the great thing about golf. It's all on our own. I mean, you make the cut, you make money, or you miss the cut and you don't make anything, and that whole expense goes as a loss. But that's the meritocracy of golf is what I think has always been great. But you fly into the next place. Fortunately, the transportation's there to pick you up. They take you to your hotel. You get a courtesy car for the week. But then it's on pretty much mom. What are we going to do with the kids all week? They have daycare for us. Every week, like if your wife wants to, go out to lunch with her friends, they have daycare starting on Tuesday of each week, but there's a 4-hour maximum. You can't just drop your kids off at 8 a.m. and just pick them up at 8 p.m. It's 4-hour maximum. So if your wife wants to go watch you play, they can during the week, stuff like that. But there's limits on it. They're babysitters only in the fact that there's a time limit. It's not all day. I mean, now you can hire out somebody, or you can bring a nanny if you want. Times have changed a little bit now. More people, I think, bring in nannies. They're flying privately, which fortunately I did for about 4 years when the kids were really small, because cost-wise, it was cheaper basically than buying. If I only have an hour flight from say Dallas to New Orleans or whatever it was, I had the deal where 1 hour on that plane was cheaper than buying 4 plane tickets, and I could write the whole thing off. But pretty much chaos, just like anybody else going on vacation or whatever. Flying with kids is not easy, but then the thing is once they get in school, then I'm on my own out there again, because mom and the kids stay at home and it's harder to travel. They don't have the free time. That's about it. It's just not easy. But you get used to it. It's just it's how you make your living.
That's right. You finished 5th at the Masters, And, I'm sure you look back and you think to yourself, man, and the more and more you watch golf, we talk a lot about my son being a big lacrosse guy, but he also plays on the high school golf team just for something to do, and he likes it and enjoys it. But when you're walking around, and it could be a shot on the first hole, right? Your approach shot on the second hole. It could be on the fifth hole. Now you spread that over 4 days. Do you ever still look back now, or even while you were doing, hey, who's your buddy there, by the way?
That's Enzo.
All
He's
right,
a
Enzo.
Weimaraner. He's got a lot of energy. He wants to get on camera. Yeah.
That's right. He's more than welcome. We have dogs on camera all the time. Hell, I'm a dog, and I'm on 2 hours of this show every day. But the do you look back and you say to yourself, or you just got to let it go? You're like, man, I finished 5th in the Masters.
In 08, I was standing on the 12th tee at Augusta, one shot off the lead, which Trevor Immelman was playing 2 groups behind me at the time. And, you know where you are. There's scoreboards that are the size of freaking 18-wheelers out there. You know where you stand. I mishit the shot a little bit on 12, misjudged the wind, and it, hit in the bank and rolled back in the water. And I made a double. But so then that put me 3 back. But what I always think back is, how did I react to that? I felt like, man, now I'm 3 back. I got to hit the gas here. No brakes going the rest of the last 6 holes. Let's just try, birdie every hole. Well, you can't play Augusta National like that. That was my one regret. I played so aggressively coming in, I made a couple more bogeys. And I'm like, you dumbass. If I had to do it all over again, when you start the week, that's why you play practice rounds. That's why your game fits certain holes, certain courses better than others. You got to stick to your plan. And I basically threw the plan out the window in 08. Course was difficult. That's why I think Trevor shot maybe 5, 6 under and won. It was brutal. It was windy. It was chilly. It was firm and fast. Balls were rolling off greens. Greens were firm. And I'm just like, I got finished, and I kind of sat in the locker room, and I was like, what did you just do? And I kind of had a moment to myself. I always, if ever I struggle, I kind of hang out in the locker room for about 15 minutes, assess it, and then it's done. I walk out, and my friends would always be like, how do you put that behind you? And I was like, you just got to give me a few minutes to process it. It's over. Let's go have some dinner and have some fun. But that night, actually, I think for a couple months, I thought about that second 9 a lot. And it was just a reassurance. There's a reason your game has been successful. You kind of play to your strengths. Mm-hmm. And I didn't on that second 9. And I tried to just do stuff that I wasn't capable of in my game. But I tried it anyway. Going for 15 from a bad yardage off a hanging lie behind the trees. And, I hit it way right. Ended up making a bogey because I didn't hit it in the water, but I just hit it way right where I couldn't get the ball up and down. And it was just like, I learned from it. But that 08, that finish, I don't even remember what I finished in 08. But that second night, a lot of the other way, I finished 6th. I think the next year it was maybe a backdoor top 10. I've always played well at Augusta National because a lot of the tee shots go right to left. If you think about number 9, number 10, number 13, number 14, they fit my eye a lot. And, man, I played great there. I putted well there. But you got to play Augusta National with a strategy. And I think we hear Rory McIlroy the last couple of days has got a plan, and he's going to stick to it. He's going to not let things bother him that are going to happen. And you have to do that at Augusta because there's going to be some funky stuff going on out there, especially if it gets windy and it's such an exacting golf course. But you got to stick to your plan at Augusta National. You can't just wing it. And in 08, when I let that chance slip through my fingers, I was just inexperienced in how to handle the magnitude of that situation at the time.
You brought up the name McIlroy, and I had said a little bit in the opening of the show today that, he's good buddies with Tiger Woods and was out playing a practice round with him. He made the comments in the press conference after. He said, I've played a lot of rounds with this guy. He said, he's making all the shots right now where just shot making McElroy said, I think Woods has a chance to win this tournament. Now, whether you believe that or not, it's up to anybody else. He said, but the challenge is going to be him walking. We know what happened with his leg. And Paul Daugherty, who had been covering the Masters for years and years and years, pointed out to us the other day that one thing television might not be able to bring to the audience at home is how challenging it is to walk that course. Is that right?
It's the truth. I don't know if you've ever been to Augusta, but
I have not.
TV, and especially how green the place is. I mean, it's the uniform, just the prettiest, darkest shade of green that you see on TV, but it flattens out undulations. What people don't even see on the first hole is you drive it out there, but you walk down about a 40-foot valley, then back up into the fairway. You're basically driving into an upslope, and that's why that whole plays so long. But the 10th hole, the 10th hole is almost as steep as the slopes at Perfect North ski slope. I mean, it is.
Wow.
It is down to the left. I mean, you're basically, when you hit it, you kind of look down like, you can't see the ball land. It's tough. And it's not just the downhill, it's side hill and it's uphill, and 18's uphill. It's a tough course to walk, and it tends to be a lot of standing around because since the course is so difficult, you're waiting on the group in front of you a lot. The time on your feet is the hardest part about playing Augusta National. The walk is difficult, but you stand a lot. And hey, listen, if Tiger could take a cart and he could, sit down in between shots, he'd be a lot better off. I know he talks about, looking forward to playing our tour where you have the option to take a cart if you want to or not. And a lot of the guys on our tour will walk 9 and ride 9 sometimes because it's not the walking that's the difficult part. It's just the standing around. Every guy on our tour can walk 18 holes. But over the course of 4.5, 5 hours, I get tired of standing. Sometimes I'll play 9 holes, start 9 with the intent of walking the whole 18 holes. But if we're behind a slow group, or, there's a par 5s that, everybody's waiting to go 4 and 2, or par 3s causing a hold up, or just generally the pace of play stinks, I'll be like, screw it, and I'll hop in a cart for the last 9. I mean, it's a luxury.
Would you be in a favor of having carts on the PGA Tour, or is that just a stupid
Absolutely
question?
Not. Absolutely. It's a you talk about, what your product looks like on television. I think carts look terrible. I truly do. And they encourage us when we do take a buggy, park it kind of out in the rough, not out by your ball. Let's not be visible, with the carts. And guys are better about that. But PGA Tour guys are younger. They can handle it. I mean, there's guys, half the guys on our tour got a shoulder replacement, a knee replacement. They've had multiple surgeries. Again, we're lucky we're still playing golf, but the carts are necessary for some guys. And, some guys just aren't in very good shape, let's be honest. But it adds to the competitive element of our tour that you have the option. It's not required. It's, our majors don't allow carts, though, which I see Tiger saying he's looking forward to having a buggy, when he gets out on our tour. But none of our majors, which I would think are really the only events that really interest Tiger, playing U.S. Senior Open, British Senior Open, PGA Senior, they don't allow a cart. So unless he gets like a, what do they call it, American Disabilities Act exemption to take one, which he might be able to with the way his leg is, that's not an option. But week in, week out, if you want a buggy, take a buggy. Who cares? There's some of the veterans, it's funny, are outspoken about it. But then those same guys who've been outspoken, they get a bad back and they ride around. And I'm like, oh, okay, so now you can ride. But, it's, that's about all the drama on our tour. It's like, we just play golf. And, in my 5 years out there so far, we used to, get finished and maybe have a beer with, your buddies in the locker room or in the dining area. Now everybody goes and hits balls. It's so serious anymore. I don't like it as much, but it's become ultra competitive. Some of these new guys filtering out have changed the environment where now our tour is as competitive as it was when we played the regular tour.
If you were to just go out and watch or to be able to walk around, you've done a lot of TV work in the booth for Fox and the Golf Channel, that kind of thing. But if you were a guy that was just going to the Masters today and tomorrow, and you could go watch 4 guys, who would you go watch?
Rory McIlroy. I mean, he's the easy one. I would watch Jon Rahm because Jon Rahm plays with the gas pedal down the whole time. And he can because he just hits like a squeezy little fade out there, keeps the ball in play, but he is aggressive. Rory, because it's spectacular to watch him drive a golf ball. It's so high and so straight, and it's just full speed. But the other guys I might go watch are like well, you got to watch Tiger, because Tiger was really one of the only players who had the guts to try difficult shots and pull them off. A lot of guys would want to try them, but they knew they didn't have the ability to pull it off, so they just kind of chip out or whatever. I mean, you remember some of the fantastic shots Tiger would hit, but he pulled them off. He very rarely, screwed them up. So, I don't know if he has the ability to do that much anymore, but Tiger isn't afraid, which is really cool. And then my 4th guy might be, who comes to mind? I don't know. I might only watch those 3.
Okay.
I'm pretty.
I mean, I get it. I get it. I was just out of the Phoenix Open. We took my wife and son and I went out there and we watched Waste Management. They call it now. It used to be the Phoenix Open,
yeah.
and went out there and watched some of those guys walking. Yeah, I mean, those would be the guys that I think I'd be right there with you. Maybe Scheffler mixed in a little bit just because he seems to be playing so well. When you look and knowing the course, I mean, if you were to handicap, and maybe it's the guys you just said outside of Tiger, Rahm, McIlroy. If you were to handicap, the 4 or 5 guys that you think have a legitimate chance to win this week, who would they be?
Well, I don't think you can look past Scotty Scheffler, mainly because he's got such a great short game. And I know he's the defending champion and all that, but you can't ever underestimate a short game at Augusta National. I mean, look no further than Ben Crenshaw. He won 2 Masters, and he's really generally, and he would admit this, not ever been one of the best ball strikers out there, but his short game saved him. And that's how he won his 2 green jackets. But, I keep harping on the same guy, Jon Rahm. I feel like those 3 guys are far, and he and Rory McIlroy as well. Those guys are just so far and away ahead the top 3 players in the world right now. But to go farther down the list, if they get all this rain and the course plays soft, length is just going to be at such a premium. Years ago when Zach Johnson won, he laid up on every par 5, and he wedged it and putted it great. But Augusta has changed so much since then. It's so much longer, even laying it up on the par 5s. It makes a difference, but all the other par 4s are still so long. At that time when Zach won, the 7th hole wasn't as long. The 11th hole wasn't as long. And those holes really, I mean, going into those holes with long irons or hybrids, you've got a tall order ahead if you think you can compete. So, I'd like to say Tiger could contend. I think Tiger's difficulty is just the endurance of it all. But, I would be hard-pressed to think anybody outside those top 3 would have a chance this week.
Well, I mean, look, I only got a couple more questions. I appreciate you being generous with your time. Steve Flesch, kind enough to join us. It sounds to me, if I'm hearing you right, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, they have changed Augusta through the years, and they're always trying to change it and make improvements that they think are improvements, whatever it might be, that if I hear you right, seems to help the Bombers, right? But then you have the USGA that does not oversee the Masters or some of these other things, right? Where they want to create changes, as we were talking a little bit about earlier, to the ball. Where now all of a sudden the Bombers are they're still Bombers, but they can't take the advantage because of the way the ball is constructed, that they can't do some of the things that they would do with whatever ball it is they're playing now. So I mean, what does the tour want to be? Does it want to be we're going to continue to give advantages to the Bombers, or we want to try to create the equipment where it gives the shot makers, for lack of a better term, right? It gives them the Curtis Stranges of the world from years past, two-time U.S. Open champ, gives those guys a chance.
Listen, the tour is all about highlighting its superstars. Now, the superstars in the last few years generally tend to be the Bombers because it's fun to watch, but it's because, and Dustin Johnson, he could, I was just thinking he could compete again this week too. I mean, I know he's gone to play the Live Tour, but listen, that guy's, I don't know what his world ranking is. He's dropped down to 60th, whatever. You'd be hard pressed to think of 5 other guys ahead of him who are better golfers in the world, but he's a Bomber. Now, what the USGA has done with this ball thing, trying to roll it back, is because courses they're running out of real estate trying to build golf courses big enough for these tour events. Well, I think it's short-sighted to say, let's just roll the ball back to, it's short-sighted to say, oh, well, we can just keep adding length because land is expensive. So if they roll the ball back, the Bombers are still going to be the Bombers. I don't care who you are. But what it becomes to, the onus now falls on the setup of the golf courses, which is a whole nother thing. But, how wide do you make the fairways? How long do you make the rough? People say, oh, just grow the rough long. Well, you can't just grow the rough long because that still benefits the Bombers. Because, say I hit it 300 yards and you hit it 250, but you miss a couple fairways and I miss a couple fairways. Well, if we're playing a 400-yard hole, you've got 150 yards in and I got 100 yards in. If you're 150 out of the rough and I'm 100 yards out of the rough, I'm still going to hit the green more often and get the ball closer to the hole than you are. So you can't just grow rough. You have to make, the greens firm, narrow the fairways a little bit. So being in the fairway is an advantage, but that's a hard thing to balance, how to set up the course, because the Bombers are still always going to have less club into the greens. It's hard. The USGA kind of lost their way not taking care of this years ago. They're kind of, dogs chasing their tails here, trying to figure this out. But, the horse is out of the barn. They've let it go so long now. This needed to be addressed 20 years ago. The groove change they made, 18, 20 years ago now, had zero effect. They thought that we'll get rid of square grooves. That'll change how people control the ball. Total waste of time. But now, the PGA Tour is always going to highlight its stars, and the stars tend to be the guys who hit it. Let's not fool ourselves. All these guys on tour now hit it a long way. That's just how they've been groomed and how they've learned how to play the game. But the guys who, putt the best and iron it the best are the guys who are going to succeed. Because they all can hit it a mile, but you still gotta have the stomach to handle the pressure, and you still got to make the putts. But the Bombers, it just generally tends to make it easier on them the farther they get it out there. And the USGA rolling it back, it will affect a little bit of the game. But these guys they're training every day. They're learning to increase the speed, how to hit it further. If they put more spin on the ball, guys will just lower the loft on their drivers, but they'll still figure out a way to maximize everything. But, you can't fight technology, and you can't fight athletes improving their physical fitness. And that's, the USGA kind of missed it by about 15, 20 years now, but anything they can do to make the maximum speed of the ball off the club face, finite now where it can't go any further, will help. But guys are good. They're not going to raise the rim in the NBA because guys are bigger, taller, and stronger, and they jump higher now. Let's keep the game what it is. But, if guys shoot lower scores, so be it. But the average score on tour hasn't gone down a significant amount in the last 10 years.
Last two things I want to ask you about. Should there be this much animosity? Seems to be a lot of it, especially with a few players in particular, maybe not across the board, with this whole live thing. I mean, what are your thoughts about it? I sit there and I was talking to, my son about it last night. I'm like, I wrestle with this thing. I get the whole PGA thing and how good it's been to all of you guys and how good it was for all of these guys and to put them in a position where they are. And then all of a sudden, Steve, human nature, hey, man, I think Fred Couples made the quip the other day, I can't understand why they're giving Mickelson $200 million to go shoot 74. Well, you know what? I'll take $200 million for somebody to go have me shoot 70 if I could shoot 74. I mean, what are your thoughts on this whole live thing? And do they ultimately merge when all is said and done?
Will they merge? No. Obviously I've been asked this question a lot because I'm not afraid to speak my mind a little bit, but my son and I we're in this group text with Fred Couples. And so we hear a lot of what he has to say. And I feel very similar to Fred in the fact that I don't have a beef with any of the guys who've gone. When I was 40 years old and my game was declining and I couldn't beat, a lot of these guys on tour, and somebody says, okay, first of all, put it this way. It's easy to say I wouldn't take the money until somebody slides a platter of,
that's right,
just say $30 million in front of your face. Now it's real, right? So it's easy to say, no way I'd do it. You're damn right I would have done it probably at the time because it's generational wealth. I mean, you're taking care of your kids, your grandkids, forever, right? So I don't blame one guy for taking it. My only thing is the same as Fred's. Don't knock the institution that helped give you that platform to be offered that money on your way out the door. Phil, I heard and read a bunch of stuff that Phil was quiet at the Champions Dinner, Tuesday night at Augusta National. First of all, when's the last time that Phil's ever been quiet about anything? Phil's an expert about a lot of things. Just ask him. That's how he got his nickname Fig Jam. I think we can all figure out what that means.
Yep.
But he I think realizes that, man, I've got $200 million and he isn't playing his greatest golf, but I think he was like, at what cost did I do that?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest contention. It's not that any guy blames or is mad at an individual. It's the insinuation that their product is better. It's going to take over the PGA Tour. It's going to coexist. Where the money's coming in Saudi Arabia, not pretty. By anyone's stretch, but it just, Greg Norman has always been a pariah with the PGA Tour. He tried to get a tour like this of, huge purses, very limited fields way long ago. Well, the PGA Tour exists because of more than a dozen guys. A dozen guys can't play 40 weeks a year. So you have to have a supporting cast in a movie. You have to have a supporting cast on, in the NBA, the MLB. The stars are always going to be the stars, but the leagues don't exist without the supporting casts. So that's kind of where the PGA Tour comes from. The Korn Ferry Tour, the Latin American Tour, the Mackenzie Tour up in Canada. All these are supporting casts of the PGA Tour, and that's how the product keeps evolving and being great every year. And Liv thinks that you don't need all those people. Well, it's a big world, a lot of players. Let's give everybody the chance, to compete and excel at your sport, and keep the dream alive for kids to play at the highest level, whether it's NFL, MLB, NHL. You get my point.
Right.
But the Liv wants to eliminate that. They're playing 48 guys for $20 million a week, and they're not. Now they're going to have a Q school where they're offering 2 spots or something like that. There's no open qualifier on a Monday. There's no cut to basically, add an element of competition. It's basically, here's your team, play all year. Everybody makes a ton of money. We all go home. And to me, that's not major league competition, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, whatever. That's just not what golf has always been. And, that's for that reason, all those things I just listed, the no Q school, whatever. If the Liv would just do any of those, they'd get their world ranking points, but they don't want to. Believe me, there's 7 criteria to get world ranking points. They knew when they came up with the concept for their tour what those 7 criteria were, and they simply just said, we're going to do it our way. We expect everybody to bow down and think we got the greatest concept here. Well, no other tour in the world adheres to those guidelines, but every other tour in the world adheres to those guidelines. They don't want to, but they expect to be, accepted as, a major accredited tour. And hey, if you want to be taken seriously, have your Q school, have your Monday qualifying, have your sponsor exemptions, have your, avenues for young people to get out on in your tour, in your business, no matter what it is. And they don't want to do it like that. So that's kind of their gripe, but it's pretty simple. All the guys knew what they signed up for when they got offered these contracts with Liv, and they chose to go that way. So be it. That's great. But just don't kick the PGA Tour and the Korn Ferry Tour, on your way out the door. It's that easy. And that's the animosity with it all. But my worry, and I know I'm getting long-winded, these purses now that these guys are playing for, $20 million in the match play, $15 million this week at the Masters, it's so much money. I worry how long Rory McIlroy and Jon Rahm and Scottie Scheffler are going to play this game. How much money do you need to where you don't lose the incentive to go play? I mean, I see it in the guys playing the Liv. What's the incentive now when you've got all this money? Your events aren't getting any world ranking points. You have a very small avenue to get into major championships now going forward. I got all this money now. It's like a retired major leaguer, NFL player. They retire early, early 30s. They've got $80 million in their account or whatever. Now what? Now what do I do to create that anxiousness and nervousness of going out on the field on opening day, or taking that first snap of the game? Where do you get that energy? Where do you get that vibe? And I feel like that's what's going on with Liv. They are on an island right now, and they're not doing anything to change that. They just want people to say, here's your world ranking points, quit complaining. It ain't going that way. They're losing lawsuits. They just lost one in Europe yesterday, saying that the guys aren't, European guys aren't eligible for the Ryder Cup team, aren't eligible to play the DP World events. So you got Poulter, Sergio Garcia, Lee Westwood, Henrik Stenson. Now they're on an island because they lost that lawsuit. I think it's going away sooner than the tours are going to merge. It'll never merge.
All right. Last thing I'm going to ask you about, because everybody in the chat is bringing it up. You're a Kentucky guy through and through, over your shoulder there. I mean, you got the basketball. Is that a UK national championship ball back there? You got the bourbon.
Smith.
You got it all going. What is that?
That's Tubby Smith. That's a national championship ball of Tubby Smith. I don't drink bourbon, but I got to have it for friends that come over. But I got a little Tito's over there. I might do a Tito's now and then. But
all right.
As we go older, man, that drinking's hard on you. I don't drink that much. It's too tough on my body, especially to play golf the next day. It's not a good idea.
I'm thinking about doubling up on everything, but that's just my opinion. I mean, I'm giving it some consideration. Hey, great to be with you, Steve. Thanks so much for your time, and good luck the rest of the way out on the tour or whatever it is you're doing. One of the all-time great good guys. Thank you for your time today.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun, and I love what you're doing there. It's great chat and good insight, and, hey, I'll come on anytime. Happy to, Thom.
Thank you, Steve. Steve Flesch, kind enough to join us, and he knows all about the Masters, man. Been there, done that. That's big time. Best golfer ever from this area, ever. By far. That's a big leaguer. And obviously he's still very much in tune. I found that Liv stuff very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On multiple levels, which we will talk about when we come back. We're going to take a break. I don't think I've gone this long in my 50s without finding the restroom. More information than most of you might need, so forgive me. Ham and Eggers, Mr. President, a free man. Take it away.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
Oh, there's that door.
There's the door. Hey, Reed, talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, that was a long interview. It was a great interview. And
It was
I found
basically
myself,
a big interview.
Yeah, it was the big interview on a Thursday. That's kind of it's kind of content we give here on Chatterbox Sports. We give you back-to-back big interviews, and I found myself, constantly feeling the need to be rehydrated throughout the interview. Gotta streamline my focus, and I kept going to this old Pawnee water. It's a new premium alkaline water, and I gotta tell you, Paul, you've had it.
I have had it a lot.
This stuff tastes great. It's the natural limestone filtration. They make it right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Unlike the artificial processing that those other brands use, and the result is a healthy alkaline water that is also the best tasting water in the world. Visit their website at pawneewater.com. That's PAHHNI water.com. And that's where you can get some of this great tasting water. Paul?
That's absolutely right.
I love coming on this show.
Why do you love coming on this show?
So come off the bench to on the bench, it really feels like you show up at the park, you're not an everyday player, and then coach announces the lineup. They're like, hey, Reed, you're behind the dish today. You're like, heck yeah, I get to play today. That's why I like it. I like coming off the bench and love being a part, chopping it up with Big League Paul and the former professional and Thom and then also Casey when he's on the show. I just love coming on.
What do you think Casey's doing today?
Casey is stressing so much over this show right now.
Oh, 100%.
He is not even relaxing right now.
Yeah. There is no doubt in my mind that Casey has been watching this show for the last hour and 21 minutes and thinking, please, God, don't let anything go wrong.
Anyway.
Well, we started off a little rocky. Let's start off a little rocky.
I do love that we have it. This is a new chair for you, so you haven't figured out the Casey window.
No,
the CW, the Casey window, and we're working on it.
Yeah, we're all right. We are. That the home improvement thing is what I think of almost every time Casey gets back here and then starts to like move the thing around. I'm always thinking home improvement.
Yep.
Reed, you want to scroll up here a little bit on the. There we go. Scroll up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we got to talk about Tracy Jones.
Oh yeah.
Which is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Tracy's about to come on. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and
productivity.
Ha-ha! Look at that.
Yes.
Let's go, Reed.
Yes.
Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. Look at that.
That was great.
Come on in, right off the bench, filling in for Casey. We got it going.
You know what was a name? Just my baseball nerdiness came out was Thom mentioned Brandon Webb earlier from Kentucky.
Boy,
I've been looking
was he a pitcher, man?
Thom, I know he got injured, but has anyone had the career exactly like he had? So just to fill you in, he wins the Cy Young, the National League Cy Young in 2006.
I was there for every pitch.
2007 was second in Cy Young.
Yeah.
2008, second in Cy Young again. So he went Cy Young, then runner-up in back-to-back years.
Yep.
He comes out to pitch opening day in 2009.
Yep.
Makes it out of the fourth inning. Never seen in a major league uniform again.
Nope.
Only pitched 12 more innings in his professional career. Through 3 years later, through in the minors, Double-A, never got to play again. He was Hall of Fame bound, Thom.
I'm telling you, this guy, he was like 6'4", probably weighed 210, 215 pounds, good-looking guy, cool guy. You know, Kentucky guy, just laid back, you know, all shucks and how we all that stuff. I'll never forget the story of, I think it was Mark Grace, but the person is irrelevant. Nobody knew who Brandon Webb was. And he shows up in spring training, and somebody, I thought it was Grace, it might be somebody else, is out playing catch with him to get loose before batting practice. Just throwing the ball, playing catch. And the ball is just falling off the table, just playing catch. And I think it was Grace who said, man, I don't know who this guy is, but, you know, I know he's a pitcher. But he said, if he pitches like he just plays catch, there are a whole lot of guys that are in a lot of trouble in the not-too-distant future. And that's exactly, he wasn't, but he basically was a one-pitch pitcher. But he had such incredible movement on his fastball as a sinker. Yeah. And guys who would try to hit it would tell you it'd be like hitting a dumbbell. And nobody hit the ball hard against this guy for 3 years. He was the best pitcher in the National League. And then all of a sudden, I mean, that's why. And we had Dr. Timothy Kremchek, who's one of the most well-known, one of the 2 or 3 best surgeons for Tommy John in the world. Tommy John being the elbow. But one thing medical science has never been able to do, and think about all the advances we made in medicine, right? The one thing medical science has never been able to do is fix the shoulder. There are so many muscles and so much going on there that when you read about and look, you say a prayer for all of them, right? These are guys trying to make a living. When you read a story about a baseball pitcher that has an elbow injury, there's a good chance he's going to be back. Really good chance. Mm-hmm. You read a story about a guy in a shoulder problem, done. And believe me, they know it too. I mean, you heard Dan Plesac talking about it yesterday. That shoulder all of a sudden, went from throwing 97 to thinking he's throwing 97, looks up on the scoreboard and says 86. Mm-hmm. And for starting pitchers, damn near impossible. Now, reliever, left-handed, the loogie thing they call it. Hate that word. But, can those guys ramp up, come back, maybe get it fixed a little bit? Maybe you're pitching a third or 2/3. Well, now the rule changes. 3 batters here. 2 days later, 3 batters there. End of an inning, you're facing one. Yeah, they can get by. Starting pitchers, you're in big trouble. And that's what happened to Webb.
What was your last year in Arizona? What year
Would have been 08.
08. So, yeah, that was his last.
He was on it. I mean, he was unbelievable how good he was. Gosh. Well, we were talking about having to run, and Jim Pell, thank you. Great interview with Steve Flesch, really broke down the differences between the PGA and LIV tours. Look who's in the house is Richard from Indian Hill. He's here today, which means one thing. We had to reach out to Tracy Jones' PR department to see if we could clear him. I mean, where are you? You look like you're in a morgue. We can't even see your face. It's so dark.
I don't know what it is with the. Is that any better? I'm in Southern California. I'm helping my sister-in-law move into her mansion. I cleaned 5 bathrooms yesterday. I
cleaned them?
Probably 10. I am so exhausted I can't think. I have no running water. I haven't showered for a day and a half. So please, if I don't bring my A game today, I apologize. But I am exhausted, Tom. Absolutely. My character would never.
Let me walk this back a minute, Tracer. It's good to have you back. We made the comment the other day, and we'll get into this in a minute. But no, we'll get into it now. I made the comment to Paul, and Reed was not in the seat, but he is today, and Casey was here yesterday. I'm like, or 2 days ago. And I'm like, you know where I'm going with this, right, Paul? You find out where you are in the totem pole. You weren't with us Tuesday. Why again?
What was it? I forget. I can't even think.
Brennaman and Jones.
Brennaman and Jones.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Yes, I do. I was working with
not hold on a second. That's where you were.
So, but you know what? I got to tell you, his question, and this is on Brennaman and Jones on baseball on WLW. Marty's question to me, and I apologize for missing, but your dad will get very upset if I'm not on time. Asked me, who does a better interview, Marty or my son, Thom? And you know what I said?
What?
Without a doubt, Thom is better. And I said, Marty, not that you're not bad, you're not a network guy. Marty, you're more of a Midwest type broadcaster, and Thom's just like a step above. Thom looks big time. Marty, at times you look a little disheveled. And I said, Marty, I think you could get better because I think Thom's peaked out. If you work with me for another 5 years, I think you could overtake Thom. So I did miss the show, but I paid you a lot of compliment there. He was not happy either.
Well, you know what? He'll get by. I got to tell you what, the guy has shown me, though, I was wondering at his age if he was much of a quote-unquote gamer anymore. Okay? For a long time, he was a gamer. Then you start making a lot of money like some of the players and all this kind of stuff. You get a little comfortable. I got to tell you, last night and about 7 days ago, downpour rain. Not last night, it was warm, but just pouring down rain for 2 straight hours. Week before, pouring down rain, 35 degrees. He sat outside the entire game at our son's lacrosse games. Never complained one time.
He really is something, and I kid around with him a lot, but I hope I'm as in good a shape as he is, both mentally and physically. You know, Thom, you know how difficult it is to work with me.
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
And it really is difficult to work with him.
You went out on us here a second there. You went out a second. So go ahead if you were starting to say something. We missed it.
No, it's just he's so talented, and some things, when I say things, I don't catch him off guard at all. I mean, I never catch him flat-footed, and he comes right back at me. He's so sharp mentally and physically. I'm really impressed with your dad. He's 80, what's he, 86? 87?
No, he just turned 80.
Well, he looks 79.
Yeah, a little beat up. A little beat up.
No, he's great.
I don't know. He has good days and not so good like the rest of us. All right. I want to get back to this thing of what you're doing there in the house. I mean, I can just tell by the look in the room. There's nothing hung yet, but I can tell by the lighting. I can tell by the windows. This is a big league joint. And you're telling me, is it under construction still? You have no running water. You're sleeping there, what, on a mattress on the floor? Why can't you shower? What's going on?
There's no running water. I have to, and you guys aren't going to believe this because sometimes I stretch a story. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, sometimes exaggerate. But I'm actually going to the bathroom in a portalette that's outside of this house. This house has been under construction for 2.5 years. And if you hear noises in the background, they're getting ready to lay the concrete. We're having the plumbers here later on this afternoon. They're going to take care of the back house, which Danae and I are staying in. And it's a very nice house, but a lot of work and very expensive. But I haven't had a cup of coffee, Thom. I'm tired as a son of a gun. And I don't know how you ham and eggers out there actually use your hands to work. I mean, I've got blisters on. These hands haven't done any work, manual labor in years. And I don't know how you guys do it. I really don't.
Reed, you're a fix-it kind of a guy using your hands. You got any advice for Tracer?
Yeah, I don't know. Just be tougher, Tracy. I know you're from California. I mean, I'm renovating my home right now, and I'm doing it all myself. I'm learning on the fly, and you got working hands. Got to get some calluses on there. Just got to be a little tougher, Tracy. I don't know what to tell you.
Listen to this, boys. Listen to this. Are you ready for this? So
yes.
I'm cleaning the toilets. I'm on my 5th toilet, right? And I'm scrubbing. I've got CLR. See, I know the chemicals too. Well, I start to get a little lightheaded. So I come out of the bathroom and my sister-in-law says, Trace, you can take a 15-minute break. And I look over at her and I go, what does that mean? She says, in California, honest to God, if you work 4 hours, you get 15 minutes off to take a break. Can you believe that, Thom?
Well, I mean, I got no problem with that. I have no problem if you work for 4 hours, you get a 15-minute break. I got no problem with that.
Oh, come on.
I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, I might have a lot of problems with things. Matter of fact, 99% of the things in California I'd probably have a problem with. But a 15-minute break, I mean, come on. 15 minutes after 4, what's a big deal? Guy goes out, has a smoke, guy goes out, calls his wife, I mean, come on.
But
what's
see, this is where I'm really good, and you guys would be really proud of me. I negotiated a deal where I worked 4 hours and took a 2-hour break. So it was very beneficial. So I needed to really take some time off and recoup. But can you imagine me scrubbing the toilet? Is that a great visual?
How hard can it be to scrub a toilet?
Well,
I mean, the things are this big around. I mean, it takes you 4 minutes to scrub a toilet.
Not if you do a good job. You got to get under the seats. You got to get down, because us guys sometimes miss the toilet and it trickles down the sides. You got to get all that. There's a lot to cleaning the toilet, Tom. You got to use the right brushes. You got to get the film that's on it. There's a lot to it. I could probably write a book on cleaning toilets now, because I'm really, really good, just like everything else I'm good at.
Well, here's though what I'm having a hard time understanding, and I'm not the brightest bulb in the room. You're staying at a guest house that doesn't have running water. You can't have a cup of coffee. Clearly, the electricity is working, but if you don't have water to pour in the coffee maker, right, you can't make a cup of coffee. Big leaguer like you. I mean, I have to believe, virtually on every other corner out there in Southern California, there's a Four Seasons, there's a Ritz-Carlton, there's a, high-end Marriott, whatever it might be. Why in the world are you and Danae not staying there where you get a good night's sleep? The 2 separate beds, I get it. You get a good night's sleep, you take a shower, and, there's a cup of coffee waiting for you down there in the lobby the next morning.
Because I'm extremely cheap. I cannot do that. Tom, look, a penny saved is a penny earned. Write that down. Have you ever heard that saying? I can't justify $400 a night here in California when I could rough it for one night, suck it up, and save $400 and use that money when I come back to Bellevue and go to the Brass Ass. Do you know how many dances that can buy me?
Hey, I want to get your thoughts, because I don't know. Are you much of a golf fan at all? Do you care about the Masters starting today?
I don't. I don't care at all. Both of us are not golfers, and that's something that when I retire here in the next year or so, I'm really going to get into golf, because it's frustrating for me to go out there and play so poorly and embarrass myself. And people always say to me, boy, I thought you'd be a really good golfer, and I'm just not. And it's a game that I'm going to get down because I've embarrassed myself, and I don't like to do that. I get invited all the time, and I don't do it because I've humiliated myself. Yeah. I got to practice. I got to play. So, the golf thing is something I'm putting on the back burner.
All right, so you don't care about the Masters. Will you watch it? You like watching golf? No. Okay.
I'd rather watch 2 frogs go at it.
What the hell are you laughing at over there? You guys think that's funny?
Hey, I got a question for you, Tom. Tom, I got a question for you.
Please.
How Bush League was it that the Angels and the Blue Jays do not bring their radio guys on the road? That is absolutely Bush League, in my opinion. And what do they? I don't know how that's, and especially Toronto and the Angels. They got a lot of money.
No, but I got to tell you, Tracy, those are 2 of the organizations that I've heard about for a long, long time. And look, Artie Moreno, the owner of the Angels, he's owned them for a long, long time. I know he takes a lot of heat there in Southern California. He was part of the original ownership with the Diamondbacks when I was there. I got to know him. I really like him as a human being, but I've never worked for him.
Right.
And, it really is interesting, some of these big money, big market teams that are doing stuff like this. Whether it's that or whether it's opting out of for their regular employees. A number of years ago, Major League Baseball basically got the regular employees, guys like me, my wife when she was in the business manager with the Diamondbacks, got them on the same pension that you guys are on, which is a great pension, right? Oh. And then all of a sudden, every major league team went along with a program. And then all of a sudden, one team would drop out and another team would drop out. Most of those teams dropping out were the big money teams. So I'm not surprised to hear about that one iota.
Here, you want to save some money? I got an idea. Why don't you cut the one of the 23 coaching staff members, right? How many coaches do you need in analytic guys on a ball club, right? I mean, it's up to, I think I counted 13 coaches for the Cincinnati Reds. Thom, when I played, what did we have, 5?
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't that many, but God, I tell you, that is just so Bush-like. And Thom, question for you on a serious note. How does that work doing it from home? Because you had to broadcast, right, during COVID. How does that work? How does that play out?
Well, it played out really well for my career.
Was that when that happened? See, I didn't even know. I apologize. Let's take 2 on that, please.
No, I know what you're asking. And look.
You know what I'm not saying.
I didn't find any problem with it at all. In fact, to be honest with you, every team, because of COVID, had to do the same thing.
Right.
The announcers weren't traveling with a team. Okay, so you had to do it off a monitor, which we were doing in downtown Cincinnati at the Fox Sports Ohio studios, right? There was a lot of talk that once teams realized, and once Bally's now realized, that we don't need to spend $15,000 a day getting a truck to broadcast on the road. We don't need to hire 30 people to work on a crew, and how many tens of thousands of dollars that is over a 3 or 4 game series. We don't need to spend for hotel rooms or give guys the per diem that are working and traveling as part of the TV crew. So there was a lot of talk that most teams were not even going to go back to travel TV crews. But I think some of them got embarrassed because right out of the gate, teams like the Cubs and the Yankees and some other teams were traveling their guys, and I think some other people got pretty embarrassed by it. So they decided to do it. But you know what? I would not be surprised at all if every sporting event outside of the World Series, certainly not the NFL. They're in a different league. But I would not be surprised at all because college basketball has gone this way, Paul. You know it.
Yeah.
I mean, guys are not even traveling and coming to games anymore.
A little bit. Fox got better with that this year.
Yes.
Fox last year, they relied a lot on the remote broadcast, especially at Xavier. They did a lot of remote broadcasts. But I think it's interesting you bring that up, Tracy, because I had that experience in 2021 when I was in the minor leagues. They wouldn't let us travel for the radio, and we had to do the games off of the visiting feed. And, in the minor leagues, they would not have the professional feeds or whatever, so you'd have the college intern, and sometimes the fly ball would look like it's going to the warning track, and then it would be a little pop fly on the infield, and you just have to go, and the people listening wouldn't know it. But the one thing you bring up about the Blue Jays that's interesting is, I don't know if you saw the story, Tracy, but yesterday during the broadcast, the day before, there was a fire alarm in the studio, and so the broadcast had to go off the air for like 10 minutes because the fire alarm was going off, and then when they came back on the air in the remote studio, you could hear the beeping in the background of the Major League Baseball broadcast. It's like, what are we doing here? We're trying to run a professional ship. What are we doing?
Oh, Bush League. I mean, it's so minor. I can see it in the minors, but I mean, this is the big leagues. And Marty was telling me that the Dodgers built Charlie Steiner a room to broadcast in his house. And that Rick Monday had an RV in the parking lot at Dodger Stadium, and that's how they did it. Rick Monday would go from his RV into the stadium, but Charlie Steiner built him a studio in his house. And I asked Marty about it, and I'm not, I don't want to spread rumors, but I think if the Reds were to build Marty a studio in one of his homes, I think he'll come back and broadcast for the Reds. Now, I don't want that rumor to be spread, but I'm saying Marty gave me a wink after saying it. I posed that question. He gave me the old, and you know what that means. He's thinking about it. What about that, Thom?
Are you building that room, Tracy? You got a lot of construction
That's
under your belt,
exactly right. Now that you're a hands-on kind of a guy.
Are you building it?
Toilets. That's all I'm good at. Cleaning the toilets. Hey, are you guys liking the time on the baseball games? I'm sure Tom's loving it, right? There were 2
Love
games
every
under 2
second.
hours.
I think it is. Look, and I rarely ever pat myself on the back with this stuff, but I felt like the lone voice in the wilderness. I saw this coming years before others. I was laughed at. I was abused on Twitter for openly complaining about the time of game. People would say, if you don't like your job, quit your job. It was brutal to watch. It was unexciting. It was slow. It was awful to watch. And we had Dan Plesac from the Major League Baseball Network on here yesterday, and he made the comment that now all of a sudden, although you didn't read Justin Verlander saying this to anybody who would listen, you didn't hear Max Scherzer saying it to anybody who didn't listen, now all of these guys saying it's so great and it's something we've needed to do for a long time. Where were they, Tracy, when the game was dying? Where were they when the game was dying? They were patting all the analytics guys on the back and saying, hey, welcome aboard. Come on along for the ride, boys.
Did you look at the numbers for the first 4 games, how the hitters were doing a lot better, whether we're talking about average, on-base percentage, slugging? I think they had like, 0.8 clock violations in those first 4 games. But there seemed to be a lot more action. And I'll tell you something that I really like is the base stealing. Base stealing is way, way up. And that's something they just really got away from. And I think that's a big part of the game. At least it used to be. And I think it's coming back. So the game is really, I was against the clock. Now I'm kind of, I don't like to admit I'm wrong, Thom. You know that.
No, I know. But I knew you were going to change your mind on this. And I give you a lot of credit for admitting it. It's a better game, Tracy. It's a better game. It has a chance to get young people to give a damn about it anymore.
Well, I think I showed a lot of courage to actually admit that I am wrong on this. I mean, it's just something that I thought I didn't like the clock. I told your dad I didn't like the clock, and he got mad. He really got mad at me. I says, Marty, I don't like the clock. I'm kind of old school. And he shook his head, and I know, you know when he gets mad, he didn't like that. He says, everybody, Trace, but you likes the clock. Everyone but you. I says, you know what, Marty? The only people that like the clock are the broadcasters who want to get the hell out of there. That's who likes the clock. And I was wrong. And I apologize, but at least I have the courage.
Seeing a little small ball brought in the game again, Tracy. We're seeing that. Yep. You take away the shift. Now, all of a sudden, you as a hitter, you step up there and you hit a rocket back up through the middle by the pitcher. It's not a shortstop standing there anymore to gobble it up behind a bag. That's a base hit. And going back to Tracy Jones days, that means you're basically stealing second, stealing third.
And you know what, Thom? I am stealing second, stealing third. And you know what? There's not a damn thing you can do about it because I'm standing on third base. Yeah, I think the game has stepped it up a little bit, and I'm happy for baseball. And we talk about the small ball, and you know who that will help is the Cincinnati Reds, right? Because they got some speed, and they can steal some bags, and I think that's really going to help the Reds. I want to, because I've been traveling around the world and everything, I kind of missed on something. Did Hunter Green really hit 105? Is that a true read on that radar?
No.
Paul,
that's the
you're
fastest
saying no.
pitch.
Yeah, no, they went back. They initially said that it hit 105 on the stadium gun. It said 105 and on TV, but then they went back and corrected it. They said he only hit 102. I don't know how they corrected it. They said it was a gun error, but it was only 102.
Did I read yesterday that Aroldis Chapman twice hit 104 miles an hour?
Yes.
Well, he hit 105 at Great American one time.
Well, no, I'm talking about like now.
Oh.
Yeah, he's still throwing that hard. Yep.
Yeah, I saw the video. He did. And the hitter actually had to put a good swing on it. I have to tell you, players are so much better nowadays. I don't know how you catch up to a 102-mile-an-hour fastball. I don't care if you know it's coming, Thom. It's still, think about when Dibble was hitting 97 or Nolan Ryan. I mean, God, that ball was coming in 95. Eckersley at 95 or 94. That was fast. I couldn't hit a good fastball, period. I mean, I could hit the thumbers. I can hit the Bob Neppers, the Shane Raleighs, the Zane Smiths, throwing about, topping out at 84. I'll kill those guys. I'll make a living all day long. But some of those high fastballs that these guys catch up to, that's pretty talented. That's a quick bat. That's a quick mind.
Yeah, it is. Richard from Indian Hill, your friend, acquaintance, I don't know what category you'd put him in. He asked an interesting question. Since the Reds are in Philadelphia, can you give us your thoughts of your days traveling to Philadelphia? Some people really like it. Some people not so much. I always enjoyed the place. What about you?
Oh, I think Philadelphia is a pit. It's one of the worst places that I have ever played at. Pretty good hitters, ballpark veterans. I tell you, the nightlife, which is always important to me, I think was really, really bad. Do you know what they call a good-looking girl in Philadelphia, Thom? A visitor. They have nothing. Those are the type of girls that are a little hairy, that have that 5 o'clock shadow.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Oh, I'm telling you, that's a terrible city. And you know it, too. And you know what? That conversation came up with your dad. He doesn't hate Philadelphia, but that's the one city your dad doesn't like either. And you liked it?
I really did. For whatever reason, I just, I did. I did like it, both traveling there for baseball and football. I enjoyed it. A little rough, really rough, but
really rough.
I enjoyed it. But, that's the difference between a guy like me and a guy like you, though, Tracer. Southern California guy, Midwest Ohio guy. So, the rough joints don't bother you too much. Guys like you, and Paul, who basically is one of the East Coast liberal elitists from outside of D.C., private school stuff, whereas Reed Mouse and I, although he's a private school guy too, I'm going to put him in a category with you and Paul. All right? Even though he's from Cincinnati, all right? Or Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton.
That's the difference. Guys like you guys can't handle Philadelphia.
I'm not an East Coast guy at all. I'm a Midwest guy, believe it or not. I'm a Midwest. West Coast used to be the best, but to go to New Jersey, Philadelphia, Baltimore, terrible town. Terrible.
Yeah, Baltimore, and I know that's near and
really
dear to
rough.
Paul's heart. Baltimore, oh boy. Yeah, not good.
You know what? Let me bring this point up. We talk about playing in other people's ballparks. That's really a disadvantage for the Reds to play where they're playing. And no one's really made this point because it's such a good hitter's ballpark. I think teams really like to come to Cincinnati and play. I really do. I think they like the city. On a serious note, it's a nice city. The fans are nice. It's not like walking into, playing at Shea Stadium with Dwight Gooden coming out the bullpen on a Sunday game and you hear the planes from LaGuardia landing. I think that's really a disadvantage because when I used to do extra innings on WLW, I used to see players that would come off the disabled list in Cincinnati at Great American Ballpark because it was such a good hitter's ballpark. So I don't think, there's no home field advantage is my point with the Cincinnati Reds.
All right, so then what was your favorite town? If we've established that you're not a Philadelphia guy, you're not a New York guy, you're not a Baltimore guy, what was, I'm assuming Southern California just to get back home, that was your favorite stop?
I didn't like coming to California. I think when you're as popular and as well known in Southern California as I am, I am from Hawthorne, the Beach Boys, Eddie Munster. It goes on, Jim Thorpe. We've talked about this before. How many tickets? Thom, I'm only allowed 4 family tickets and 2 friends, right? I've got more than that. But I tell you what, I did like St. Louis. I like St. Louis. I like playing at Busch.
Well, back in those days, and for those that don't know, I'm with you on this. St. Louis used to be phenomenal. The ballpark is right next door now to where it used to be. But back in those days, you could walk across the street right after the game and walk back to the hotel. Yeah. They had a lot of great joints right downtown. You go and have a cocktail. A guy like you go dance or something like that. But now Now, no one stays in downtown St. Louis anymore. It has been
No.
for a decade the most dangerous major city in America. It is brutal. So that's not becoming. To give people an idea that don't know, there might be one or two teams that are just in for a 3-game series. They'll stay downtown. You can walk across the street, and they still have a couple of decent hotels. But for teams that are going there regularly, it would be like coming to Cincinnati and staying in Mason.
Right. Well, that's the way it is in Oakland too, right? If you play for if you go in and play Oakland, you stay in San Francisco. I mean, I liked St. Louis at the time. It was great. The hotel. I dated a girl from East St. Louis. I don't know if you're familiar with that area. It's very nice. She was a great person. Very nice. I thought I might marry her at one time, but it fell through. But yeah, I like that. I'll tell you another place I like, Thom, is Arlington. You've been to Arlington, where the stadium was, or where the hotel was right there, and you could
right
see
across the street.
Right? Wasn't that cool?
And next to the big amusement park there. Yeah, I mean, really, it's still all there. They moved it slightly a little bit, that Dome Stadium. Boy, that place. Yeah. Have you seen that place?
I haven't.
I got to tell you.
I haven't seen that.
You know, when you build a brand new stadium like that, right? I mean, you're expecting to look at it from the outside and think, wow. Well, it sits next to the Cowboys Stadium. That stadium on the outside where the Rangers play, now inside maybe it's very nice. I've never been in there. But when you just drive by, you see the Cowboys Stadium, and then you see this place. It looks like an Amazon warehouse.
It's that bad. Wow. I thought in Texas they would do it upright. I'm very surprised at that. I've never heard that, Thom.
I'm just talking about the outside. I hear the outside is really, really nice.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. You know, you talk about outside stadium, Thom, and I start talking about old stadiums, talking about a dump on the outside, but the coolest stadium I've ever been in, for me, as a player, the coolest, Tiger Stadium. Love it.
I never got to get in there.
Oh, God. You talk about baseball. I mean, you smell them cutting the grass, one of those. I know this is corny for a lot of people, but it was such a great ballpark. You were so close to the players. You had the overhang in right field. You had pillars that would get in the way of fans, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was so old school. I mean, think about all the great players that played at Tiger Stadium.
Oh, no doubt.
Can you think of that? They had you guys think I'm kidding. There's a urinal right outside the benches, right? That you didn't have to go into the clubhouse. Can you imagine having that urinal and the memories of every great ball player that went to the bathroom? And I'm serious. If you had one piece of memorabilia, wouldn't it be cool to have that urinal in your house?
Well, I'd love to, only if you could come over and clean it.
And I've got a thing with bathrooms today. I don't know. I'm really into it. Maybe. I don't know. I'm looking outside right now, a portalette. When was the last time do you even know how a portalette works, Thom?
Dude, I have been in thousands of portalettes in my life.
Oh, please. I'll tell you one thing. I will tell you this. I am not cleaning a portalette. I refuse. I mean, I can't do. I'm not cleaning that portalette.
Well, I cannot blame you for that one.
That would
all right,
great.
My man. It's great to catch up with you. Enjoy that beautiful sunshine in Southern California.
Thank you. What are you doing? The plumbing in the battle or electrician? Okay. All right. I'll see you. All right. See, just making some friends here, Thom. See how I handled that? Very professionally. See you, Carlos.
Did you get a cup of coffee finally? Was that a cup of coffee that was handed to you?
Workers. See, I walk around here, and being a Major League Baseball player, I get coffee delivered to me. I just want running water so I can, please, I need to take a shower, brush my teeth, shave. Guy that needs to shave needs a shower, right, Thom?
Amen, brother. Amen. All right, Tracer, great catching up with you. Have a great time out in California, and we'll look forward to getting you back here in the heartland. Don't let that stuff rub off on you out there. Don't let it happen.
Well, see you, everyone. See you next
All
week.
right.
See you, Trace.
All right, boys. Great to have the Tracer back today.
Yeah, it was great.
Rare form.
As always. It's not even rare at this point.
You know what? Good point. Good point.
All right, we have a very quick cherry on top here before we
Let's
before we
hear
get
it.
out. I know we're at
Presented by UDF. We're up against it.
So this is our very own Trace Fowler. Went down to the Reds game yesterday alongside Reed Mouse here.
Wow.
And this is Trace with, I'm assuming these are his sons?
Yeah,
Reed?
this is his kids, Cam and Grayson. Right after the game got canceled, got a picture with Hunter Green, it looks like. And Hunter Green even retweeted it. And said
No
some nice
kidding.
things. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Made sitting in the stadium for 2.5 hours waiting on them to play, made a memory out of it. That's all that matters.
Well, you know what? Good for Hunter Green. That's really cool. Obviously good for the Fowlers. But that's really cool by Hunter Green.
Yep. Really cool.
Like to see that kind of thing. Where was your picture with Hunter Green? What the hell were you doing?
I didn't get in the stadium. Didn't go in.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood you when you said earlier you went down there.
I went down there, but I was waiting on I got into Cincinnati, and they already delayed it, so I was just,
So where were you? Over in the banks?
hanging around the city. Yeah, OTR. Stopped
Really?
Yeah, it's found a nice little burger joint.
Boy, they got a lot of nice joints, period, in OTR.
Yeah, it was cool.
A lot happening down there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Paul and all his Xavier friends don't go over there.
No.
It's kind of,
No.
they got to stay over there at Dana Gardens.
A public schooler like you and a guy from Hamilton like me, we don't
I'm
mind
not
going
putting
to
you in
OTR.
that category. I'm not.
I'm
not.
from Hamilton.
I understand, but I want to. I tried to. And then I caught myself.
Oh, man.
Tracy, Southern Californian. Paul, the East Coast liberal elite. They call us the flyover part of the country. On the East and the West Coast, we're just a flyover here. Forget all the peasants. And then you. I mean, Hamilton is as, rock solid as it gets, but sprinkle in the Baden thing.
Hey, I just wanted to have religion class. Just wanted that.
I can't blame a man for that.
Right. Just had to learn
Then
about the faith.
I stand corrected.
Had
You
to learn
just
about the
changed
faith.
my mind.
There you go. See, same with
Reed and me forever. Paul and Tracy never. To quote my old friend Wildman Walker. All right, everybody. We'll look forward to seeing them. We're going to talk a lot of NFL tomorrow. Reds will be playing tomorrow, but they'll be playing after we get off the air. But got the Masters. Tell you about what happened in the first round there. We thank Steve Flesch for his time. Paul, on your game today.
Yep. We pulled
What
it
the hell's
off,
so
Tom.
funny over there?
Nothing's funny at all.
Okay.
Pulled it off today, Tom.
Great job over there.
Thanks.
Reed, good to have you here. Thank you.
As always.
Thank all of you. We'll look forward to back to his religion classes on this Holy Week. Good Lord willing. We're all back here in the saddle tomorrow. Have a great Thursday.